this second part, we're going to make a beating heart. This was designed by an amazing origamist, David Petty, and he's come up with a very clever way to be able to fold a heart that will actually make even a clicking noise like your real heart, as well as moving. So we've done a drawing and a little diagram, and I'm going to explain how to do that. But at the same time, I've done a drawing to show what a heart is made of. And Esther is going to help explain the drawings, that are the microscope pictures that I've been looking at to get inspired. What's going on, which ones are healthy, which are unhealthy, what happens. And again, we can learn about the heart, what it's made of, while being creative. So you've hopefully got a single sheet. This is all that's needed. And we're actually just going to be working on this strip at the side. So I'm just going to really briefly show you what we'll want to do is maybe, actually we could just do the colouring straight off. Keep your sheet as it is and we'll do some colouring, and I will be asking Esther more about it. So if you grab your sheet, grab some colouring pencils or felt tips. You can be creative. You might want to use realistic colours or unrealistic and be super fun with it. So I am going to be colouring while asking Esther some questions, and I think Esther has also got some nice pictures that she can show us as well. So we're going to start off with colouring the side, which this little strip is what we're going to be colouring. I know it's quite small, but actually when it's folded up, it'll be about life size. So we're going to start by colouring the right side, and these are drawings of healthy cells, and you can see there the pictures on screen. So I recommend you looking up, having a little look, and at the same time also colouring too. So I'm going to get colouring. Right, Esther, can you tell us what we're seeing here in this picture?
Yeah, so I guess the first word is about the colour, because it really doesn't matter what colour you colour in these cells. But this is the colour that they look like when we're looking under a microscope, and it's because of the way that we've stained the cells in the laboratory. And it basically relies on two different stains. One is pink and one is purple. And so you get these colours that you see on the right-hand side. And the purple stains the nucleus of the cell, which is the powerhouse of the cell, and the pink stains the cytoplasm of the cell and lots of extracellular material as well. So that's why the colours, the realistic colours that we see down a microscope, are pink and purple.
So what are the round things are the nuclei?
Yes.
And inside nuclei, what is it that's inside there that's important?
The nucleus holds the DNA of a person. So it's really, really important. And it's that defines what a cell and what a person will look like.
Wow. And I've drawn, can you see at the top, there's like a little bar, and on your drawing as well, there's a little scale there. It's to try to show the size. I know it's really hard to imagine things that are small, but that little bar there shows about the width of human hair. So if your human hair was enlarged down a microscope, this would be the relevant scale. So these cells, are they quite big? Are they quite unusually large?
They are quite big if you compare to other cells of the body. So they have this nucleus in the middle, but actually the biggest part of the cell is the cytoplasm, which is the muscle of the cell. And that's why it's mostly cytoplasm, because it contains all of the muscular fibres that are doing all of the work. So it needs to be a big cell to be able to do a big job. And if you were to compare to some of the cells in the background, so in between the heart muscle cells, there are cells that support those muscle cells. And here you can see the nucleus is really, really tiny, just a little pinprick if you compare to the nucleus of the muscle cell. So these really are quite big cells because they're doing a big job.
Wow, Herculean cells. So hopefully you've coloured in those. So we've done our nice healthy side. I wonder if you could start showing us what can go wrong. So on the other side of the drawing, I drew in 3 different parts things that can go wrong. So this is where a pathologist gets interested in explaining what's happening. So can you explain? So this is the top part, isn't it? The very top corner.
Yeah, this is showing a heart attack. So it's showing muscle cells that are completely dead, because this is a heart attack. And so they've lost oxygen supply, they've lost the blood supply, and the heart cells have died. And what you can see is there's lots of pink still, all of the muscle fibers are still there, but you can't see those big round purple nuclei anymore. They've all disappeared. And what you can see instead, in the bottom right of the picture, there's some blood cells, red blood cells, and there are some of those as well just scattered between the muscle fibers. So there's bleeding going on into this area of dead heart cell of heart attack.
This does not look happy.
No.
Oh, and would that be just part of the heart, the whole heart?
It would be part of the heart. So it would be the part of the heart that's affected by whichever artery is blocked. And that sometimes gives us a clue as to where to look for a blockage, and where to look for the bit of heart that's affected.
Great. So that's the top bit, and I guess that's the most common thing that can go wrong with the heart. Yeah. Can we go on to the middle section? What's that one about?
Yeah, so this is the middle section where you've got what's called myocarditis. So this is an inflammatory process where you've got inflammation in the heart muscle cells. So here you can see the long pink heart muscle fibers with their nuclei in them. But in between them, you've got lots and lots of new cells that weren't there before. These are quite small. They've got this sort of small dot nucleus, and these are called lymphocytes. They are inflammatory cells that are attacking the heart. And you can see that they're attacking the heart because you've lost some heart muscle cells here. So there's this great big area of the heart here with lots of inflammatory cells where you should have lots of heart muscle cells, and they've all disappeared. And you can see areas where they're sort of nibbling into the heart muscle cells and attacking them and destroying them.
So these are white blood cells, those kind of soldiers in our blood that would normally get rid of germs, and here they're attacking the heart.
Yeah, and there's lots of different causes of myocarditis, but the most common ones are infections and particularly viruses. So this is a part of an inflammatory response to an infection, but in this case, an infection that affects the heart, and as part of the response to that, it's actually destroying part of the heart.
That does not look good. Is there something you can do to help somebody in that position?
Yeah, you can provide treatment and then supportive care that allows them to recover from this. But depending on how extensive the damage is to the heart, there will be some residual effects to the heart. So in these areas that have been affected where you've lost heart muscle cells, this will heal with areas of scarring. So you won't ever get those heart muscle cells back. Once they're gone, they're gone. And you'll end up with some areas of scarring in the heart, and the heart won't necessarily work as well afterwards.
So I was going to ask you about, I mean, most of these pictures are of heart cells, so presumably you don't normally get a sample from somebody's heart, they're alive, but presumably in this case, this is some kind of sample. Is this from an operation and you're trying to help suggest what the best treatment is?
In a case of myocarditis, you could have a sample from somebody who's alive that's had an operation and a biopsy, so a small piece of tissue that's taken. And the idea there is to try to determine what the cause of the heart problems are in order to be able to treat the patient and save their life. This particular image is taken from somebody who died suddenly. So we can have samples that we see in patients who are alive, and then therefore our interpretation helps their treatment and helps them survive. But we also see samples from patients who have died suddenly, and we're trying to figure out why they've died. And in this case, it was due to a myocarditis.
Oh, thank you. I guess your hope is always to help the living, isn't it? That's
of course.
All of the pathologists.
Yeah, of course. And there are some things that we can pick up by looking at people's heart after they've died that help the surviving family members. And that kind of nicely brings us on to the third image.
Please show us the final image. Ooh, that looks interesting.
So this is an example of an inheritable condition in the heart. So this was somebody who had died suddenly, a young person. And here you can see the heart cells are sort of all different shapes and sizes and a bit higgledy-piggledy. So they should be in nice lines all lined up together. And you can kind of see that in the bottom right. They're sort of playing the normal game. But in the middle and in other places, you can see you've got heart cells that are different shapes. This one's got 3 kind of spikes going out instead of just being one in a line. And they're interacting with other cells at different angles. And this is really abnormal, and it means that the heart cells don't work together as efficiently, because if they're all lined up in a line and they all squeeze at the same time, then it's nice and efficient and you get a good strong contraction of the heart. But when the heart cells are like this and they're arranged higgledy-piggledy, they don't provide that same efficient contraction of the heart. And that can lead to problems with the rhythm of the heart, and it can lead, unfortunately, to sudden death. And it can happen in people that are quite young as well. So this is an absolutely tragic diagnosis to make. But it is really, really important to make the right diagnosis, because this is something that can be inherited. So this condition is called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy.
Gosh, and what does that? I always think these words sound a bit huge and a bit intimidating. Is there a way of like breaking it down? There's always a way of understanding what on earth that actually means. What do those words mean? Can you explain?
We definitely like big words in pathology, but what it means, cardiomyopathy means cardio bit refers to the heart.
Yeah.
And a myopathy means the myo bit refers to muscle, and the opathy basically means pathology. So it means you've got a pathology of the heart muscle. So that's the first bit.
Or a suffering, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's the first bit.
The other word is hypertrophic.
Right.
And this is hypertrophy is a way that tissues respond to different stresses. And in this case, hypertrophy means that the cells become large. So you can see these big nuclei in the middle of the cells. Now, we've already said that the nuclei are quite large in the heart muscle cells, but in this case, they're even bigger than that. So they can be, 4, 5, 10 times bigger than the heart cells that we were looking at earlier.
Because I thought the scales were all wrong. I was a little bit confused drawing this.
No, they're definitely so these are very, very big cells. So hypertrophic means that they've got big cells. So putting it all together, you've got big cells, big heart, and it's a heart muscle problem.
Oh. So goodness, you've got lots of things to look at and ways to help people though as well. So I guess though the aim is to make a healthy beating heart to keep somebody alive and well. One final question, Esther, how do you become a pathologist?
Well, there are lots of different types of pathologists. But most of the pathologists are doctors, and then some pathologists are scientists. And pathologists can work in lots of different areas, including, like me, looking down a microscope and doing a post-mortem, or some work in laboratories, looking at blood samples, or looking at infections. So the main thing is that you need to go to school, and you need to do well at school, and to particularly to focus on science-based GCSEs and A-levels. And then that would allow you to go to university to study a degree, either in medicine to become a doctor, or in a science-based topic to become a clinical scientist. And then after that, there's a period of more studying when you're a doctor to learn how to become a pathologist. So it's a long slog, but it's worth it. It's a great career.
And there are also scientists who work within your laboratories as well, aren't there? So people can do well on science and still be there to help.
Yeah, there's lots of different careers.
I know, but it's all supporting, isn't it? Well, thank you so much for your time and your help, Esther. I hope that's worked for everybody out there. I hope you've managed to make a beating heart. We'd love to see pictures of your hearts, or if you're able to share that at all, that would be amazing. And yeah, keep learning, keep being creative, keep looking after yourself as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.